I kind of see it this way, that God has a secretly encoded message that he has embedded within you. That while he was forming you and fashioning you, he also kind of threw in some messages and coding there about what he wants to do with you. And again, that's one of those things some of the faith teachers didn't clarify for those of us who got exposed to that. They said all of the promises of God are yes and amen, and it's true, but all of God's answers are not yes and amen. No, none of us do. Because some of his answers are no. And one thing that I've learned, the majority of his answers are not even no. They're the same answers that our parents gave us. They're wait. They're not even, but hear me clearly, they're not even no. Most of the time they're just wait. And sometimes even with our own kids, that's why I keep using our own children, my own sons. There were times when Dad would say, not yet. And boy, they would, woo, you'd have thought that I just... And so then as a parent, sometimes I would say, now since you didn't had a tantrum, now the answer is no. Because all I said was wait. I didn't say no. I'm going to do it, but just not now. Aren't you glad that God don't do that? he don't change his mind and say no since we had a tantrum. That's where he's the ultimate parent, because, I have failed in that one. I have not done well with my children that threw a tantrum when I said wait. But God doesn't trip even when we throw a tantrum. With him being the ultimate parent, the one who really has our best interests at heart, he really will still just wait for us to finish with our tantrum, wait for us to get finished with getting mad at him, still be sitting there waiting after we done left the church for 3 and 4 months because we mad. I understand, but I gotta but I think I'm glad John be that honest. But these are the parts. So glad that we started here. That Peter started there. Said, add to your faith virtue, because in order to add virtue in your walk with the Lord, in other words, I'm gonna do what's right. I'm going to respond in a right way. I'm going to add excellence. That's why all of this is what's part of virtue. That's why your questions fit right in line with this admonition to add virtue. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to respond right. In order to do that, it really does, John, I know you've heard this phrase before, but it requires dying to our flesh to respond in a right way to God. It requires dying to our flesh. What I mean by that, it means dying to my own will, my own way. And I'll be honest with you guys, it's not like this gets easier. Said, Pastor Chris, how could you say that? You mean to tell me that you never get used to saying no to yourself? You don't get used to saying no to yourself. And that's really what it comes down to. In order to add virtue, adding virtue means I'm going to say no to myself. But look at the end goal. You got to look at what's the end. He said, if you want to come to a place where you'll never stumble, isn't this a powerful word? The first thing to add to your faith is virtue, doing what's right, responding right.